said that, and I'm like, oh, I can see what people mean by that.
Living alone?
Yeah.
Oh my God, right?
And being 30 is like a big time. Like, they start 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm moving
What are you moving to?
to your side of town. Shire, do you know what the password is for the youth programs at Gmail?
Grandma, I think we're in 1474. Why are you moving on that? I think Grandma 1474.
The capital?
Yeah, oh, see.
So,
For guests and stuff there.
well, she's gonna move in there. Couldn't do that.
Oh, Grandma at.
Yeah. And so, yeah, how did you get here?
I just take a meeting and buy.
Oh.
It's like an hour.
No, foundation, everything.
That'd be cool. Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
I could
Stay
take a
cool, yeah.
Let's stay.
Where do you going? Hi. Oh,
Oh, I
I
didn't.
일찍이 보여서 와, 여기 거북이 있잖아.
Nice.
맞아. 보내. 주문을 보내로나?
Mana balik orang tu sampai apa?
어쩌면 막 오만 더 있지. 그래. 뭐야? 그런 것도 말고. 와, 주제스 봤어.
Прежде всякий мене пока.
뭐 정년의 시제보 자존의 안다보 소배 사계 비바 다저 Devara Shiva Jiden Yamba Devu Duve Kalu Yuba Lana Meba Tada Menam Je Deva Sanje Jumden Deve Yawa Shaja Tuba Chudu Jazu Che O Dumba Jumden De Tejin Sheva Rajumba Yanta Tobe Devada Jazu Demara Devara Shiva Jiden Chemba Jivu Kalo Jurva Lana Meba Hada Menanje Dumba Sanje Jonde Peje Wa Shaja Tuba La Chaze Lo Chudu Jazu Jevu Dumba Jonde De Deshin Sheba Rajumba Yanta Tobe Sai Ribada Jazu Demara Devara Sheba Jiden Jiwo Duve Kalo Juba Lana Meba Lada Menam Dumba Sanje Jumden De Bejewa Shaja Tuba Chade Lo Judu Jadum Je Kanze Gani Zowo Jeda Dela Gomba Dumbo Nane Jiden De Na Choje Sun De Ze Jeba Jela Chaz Nanda Bowa Chodo Sozawa Ishe Jazo Seje Lumoda Taba Jiden Suna Lamewa Gombo Junye Jela Chazelo Senjo Demo Jime Dabe Sha Sendo Jawa Jela Chaz Dede Juna Seba Suna Ji Nyame Jinji Jula Chaz Ombo Tuje Jede Ba Kamji Kebe Demabu Sonam Yene Jazu Je Ishin Shela Chazelo Labe De Jatewa Juru Gewe Nyezu Le Duzi Sidu Dana Jujuba Shinju Jula Chaz Rone Trove Laya De Laba Dala Chenje Damba Yune Gindu Laya Chaz Deba Jiang Mijaji Jewa Buzu Rangi Sene Yonzu Tene Sange Dembayi Karma Ravi Mameda Yuma Seva Churda Nila Tida Juna Nidanda Sona Deye Damje Seba Yi Goba Tune Gengi Radu Kada Nada Chive Lapchude Sibe Tole Chua Chua Chua
To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, the supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise in, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 world corners. Winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realm, the one path to sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous action. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Haba kunju sumla cha tselo digi dagi toba duji na jondende gyabu ka jago kumbor Kangonji gindu jumbo na janju sembe gindu jumbo na tawa chidu jude de jondende zamo na wa shi jawe chuge nambangi dingen zela jombora shu so yan de se Janju semba semba jimbo papa chirese wanju shirage paru to chimba samu chuba nila nambra taji kumbo ngapu Teda laya rashinji tombara nambara tau Tene sangye tu tsedan demba sharifu Janju semba semba jimbo papa chirese wanju la dike chime so rikibu Tonala shirage paru to chimba samu chuba chuba tuba Jidara nambara cha dike Jeme pada chanju semba semba jembo baba jerese wanchu sedan demba shari dade bola dege jeme so shari bu rige bu mo kanla la sharagi paru de jemba samo cheba cheba doba de didar number tawa jade bumbo ngabo de dala ya rajinge tomba namba yanda ba jesu tawo su tomba tomba ni suzo zule tomba ni shemayi Tomba ni le kyan su shema yin Tejen do tsorwa dan, du she dan, nambar sheba na tomba o Shari bu de dar chu tamche tomba ni de Tsini meba, ma jeba, ma gaba, trima meba Trima dan trewa meba, kawa meba o Shari bu de da wena tomba ni la su me Tsorwa me, du she me, du je me, nambar sheba me Migme, nawa me, name, chime, lume, ime, sume, chame, chime, rome, rekame, chume, domi, ki kame, bane, iki, kame, iki, namra shebe, kangi, bardo, yame, do. Mariba me, mariba seba me, kashi me, kashi sebe, bardo, yame, do. Tishindu, dongo, wadang, kunjung, wadang, wadang, lame, yeshime, toba, matoba, yame, do. Sharibu, deda, wana, janju, semba, nam, toba, mepe, chiru, shiraje, barudu, chemba, la, tenjing, nete, semla, treba, mejin, traba, mendo, chinji, lole, shindu, dene, nyangele, debe, tar, chindu, sundu, namra, jubu, sanje, ramje, jan, shiraje, barudu, chemba, la, tene, lana, mepa, yanda, baru, sobe, janju, mumbara, soba, san, geso, deda, wana, shiraje, barudu, chembe, nga, riba, chembe, nga, lana, mebe, nga, minyamba, da, nyambe, nga, dunge, tamje, ramdu, shivar, chembe, nga, Mizumbe na dembar shebar chade shiraje barudu chimbe nga meba daya gade para san gade buddhi so sharibu janju semba chimbe de da shiraje barudu chimbe sabon la la barjawo dene chumde de tenge tele shende janju semba chimbe Baba jereze wanchu la leso, shejawa chene leso riki ku, tete shindo, tete shinde, chidara chuji, tempa, sheraje barudu chemba samola, chebara chade, tejin shepa namja jesu yiramo. Tomde dege che ka, tsene tsedan tempa, shere dati buddha, chanju semba chembo, baba jereze wanchu la. Tamjedan dembe borra dedan hadam midan ama yidan isa jide yirade chomden degi sumbala ngora te to.
Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond. analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to, there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
다그는 사포베죠. 단세다 전주선배 저발로 주바. 사 전주선배 저발로 주바서 너무 뒤유다. 그 오만지 버도 사실은 오만로 주바서도 오만로 주바서도 오만서도 동반이제. 동반이 얘기 된다. 다들 뒤유 원시도 오만 주바세 책에 그도 되잖아. 오만로 주바세데 오만이 자아시랍지. 아니 내가 중요해 오만 주바기 자아시랍 주바스. 티티시 직세. 야 이거들라 동반이 되는데 오만이샤 뒤된다. 저선 고수 주바이다. 오만로 주바스. 베티나신 다당아도 저발로 주바스를 저바세인데 장주선이샤. 장주선다 러베야스. 아니 남라에 저선 고수 주구이베이다. 아니 저발로 주바스. 어디서 관련 거 해서
Now it is Thursday and we resume the way of the Bodhisattva. It is the way of the Bodhisattva. It is entering the way of the Bodhisattva. Like one enters the middle way, the Madhyamaka Avatara, here is the Bodhicharya Avatara. The entering the middle way may be explained in two ways. The middle way as emptiness. Now, ordinarily, in an explanation of the meaning of the middle way, there are two explanations. The first is of the middle way, meaning the root verses of wisdom of Nagarjuna. That is the first. And the second is the middle way as emptiness. And insofar as one studies, contemplates, and meditates upon this, one enters the middle way. Now, likewise, this is the way of the Bodhisattva, entering the way of the Bodhisattva. The way of the Bodhisattva is the charya of the Bodhisattva. It is bodhicitta, the mind of awakening. And insofar as one enters the path, one does so through study, contemplation, and meditation upon the mind of awakening.
Oh, yeah, 이제 나도 다 쉐야디 아니 줘봐라 줘봐. 다 줘봐라 줘봐 세기래. 다다디 아니 랑게 셈을 수잖아. 다 랑게 셈이 비중보다 류가 또 이지스. 고수묘로 이지제 이다 류다 나 숨이요. 이 나는 또 아니 이지권에다 참주sembe 줘봐라 라비아. 다야 줘봐라 주기야. 스나다 라비아 스나다 냠내 쳐야라야. 아니 퇴바가 삼어 고수미 권에 두스냐 우리 책이 와인데 아니 저발로 주바스 어디 뜻이 좀 그래서
Now, the elucidation now of the Dharma is of the way of the Bodhisattva. The charya, the conduct of the Bodhisattva, is that which we would enter. We enter it by applying its meaning to our own minds, as we are animated through mind, speech, and action. Here, the conduct, the charya, is principally mental. There are three doors: body, speech, and mind, but principally we emphasize the mind. And insofar as we train in the mind of enlightenment, practice the mind of enlightenment, we enter the way of the Bodhisattva, and we do this through study, contemplation, and meditation.
Oh, yeah, that is a individual Chanju Sembe Jabala Jubas. There's a much Chanju called Jebudishi. And it Jebutilla Troyala, and it Langaya, show Kariores, and Dilla Langata the Yamur seats her to be, and the Chanju singing with Tobiala, and it Ju made the Meromati, Chanju Sembe, and it teaches the Chanju Semba Lava and Chanju Semba Lava Yamle Chevaina, and Chanju Progress. That under Jubadi, Chanju the Tobia, will Jabaiza, Jabala Lavas, who's calling or this one.
Entering the way of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva is the individual with Bodhi mind. Bodhi is the result. The best path to this result, we say there is such a path, that it is the best path to this result. The indispensable cause of Bodhi is bodhicitta. And one practices bodhicitta, and this becomes the path to Bodhi. The result that is achieved is awakening. And so we train in the charya of the Bodhisattvas, meaning in the mind of awakening.
Oh, Chanju Sembe Jabala Lap to the Mata, Chanju Sembe Jabala Laviata, Tanda Junju Lobsendori. 자세 잠주 semba 자세 시월라 프랑기 아니 냠술람베게다 봐 아니 수수고 랑이 냠술람베 냠용디 아니 뭐 메시 아니 셰바디 아니 뭐 데벨롭 근데 가지고 다 냠내 제가 치다 대디 아니 뭐 이제 시작이 여래서
The bodhicharya that we would enter through training is the bodhicharya described by the Bodhisattva Shantideva. Our lesson here, these lessons here are lessons in the way of the Bodhisattva, based upon the Bodhisattva Shantideva's own practices in their stages, the experiences he gleaned from them, which he explained to others. Those explanations were put into book form, and now we are explicating the meaning.
Oh, yes, that's it. Semba semje tone, and sem jeba yina, and 쌤 맞게바이나 아니 교양 가리 유매 쌤 깨바이나 아니 평양 가리 유매 되게 다 간다 쌤기 랑기 쌤디 아니 파다다 마게는 이미 요바다 깨는 평양 요바다 되게 평양 쉐베 거는 라는 쌤 송을 거네 냠내 용야가 통달라 아니 준주로 당부식 연구를 해서 요 당부니 봐서 뭐지 같아요
Shibati ani kia las kia this nepar jebala suma
자주 쌤이로
kia wala.
자주 쌤데 간다르다 마제바이나 아니 예매 교양 가리 예매 제바이나 평양 가리 예매 다 어디 저 디고 시기 열어서
The mind of awakening, not yet developed, entails drawbacks. The mind of awakening, when it arises, entails great benefits. These are described in the early chapters of the way of the Bodhisattva. In our own minds, where bodhicitta has yet to develop, there are faults in that mind. In the mind where the mind of awakening has arisen, there are benefits. And then the preservation of the mind when it is awakened. These are the topics of the early chapters, the first, second, third, fourth chapters of the way of the Boddhisattva.
다른 쌤 깨는 아니까 내가 더 줘버려 쌤 깨는 뒤거를 해서 디디기요 쌤 깨봐도야 송구요래 어느 패고요 아니 된적이 치돌라 다 좋아 아니 줄이지 거네 아니 다 거기다 쌤 송아 제고요 어디 송아 제외 치돌라 아니 요 제마시 시리온 거래 송아
Shibangaba, Drupadamba.
시방
Now, when the mind of awakening arises, is that sufficient then? Is the project complete? Are we done? It doesn't end there. Now the mind must be preserved, and furthermore, it must be increased. And the discipline that goes into the sustaining of the mind of awakening, these are what is involved in this, is topic for the middle chapters, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of the way of the Bodhisattva.
다 간다르 던다도 쌤 하나도 가르쳐다 다 잔주고 쌤 깨바디 아니 다 바가 간다 퇴선 무슨 요건을 한게 쌤의 송단 시험받 아니 쌤 마송의建议 아니 거 간다 밤에도 요구요가 쌤 송화이나 바위도 교단이 내가 또 잔주 쌤 고안도 벽이 요가 어디도 시험을 거네 아니 다네 바게 저 주주를 러베 라는 쌤이 때 용수 되고 치고 요래 손으로
So in short, we develop the mind of awakening, and with its arising then, through further study, contemplation, and meditation, we comprehend how we sustain the mind and protect the mind, and understand that where we fail to protect and preserve the mind of awakening, this is negligence. And where we do preserve the mind of awakening, we do so through conscientiousness. And these are our means for intensifying the mind of awakening so that we may completely pacify the unruly mind.
다 간다 수수고 쌤나 배나도 디다 치마스로 세딜라 이나양 라다 자주 쌤 깨나니 라가 팬 여바다 아니 베니아바 세기 여바다 다디네 치마 아니 내가도 치마라 쓰다 치마스도 아니 다 지덴을 대바 지덴 디다 지덴 치마스로 어제도 치마라 아니 지금 랑게 스타 자주 쌤이 돈안에 랑게다 그게 덴로는 탈바네 탐지게 놓고 봐 타베게 여바도 딱 여바 저부터지 여바 셰바지 아니 셰베 치도라 아니 랑게 쌤 디 아니 바유베 거네 숨에 거네 아니 냠수랑 딱 간자 저부터게 토버스 남나 중국 여바인데 세상다 디 치도라 다다나도 셰시베 아니 루시바 바유 생데 다 개침부치네 준주가 고랑나라야 파요고 되고디 아니 자주 셈게 냠내 체게 싸워 줘지는 송구여래 송로지
We speak of this life and lives to come. By this life, we mean for ourselves now, having developed the mind of awakening, to experience in this lifetime the benefits of that, and to dissipate through its arising all remaining faults in the mind. And by later, in lives to come, we mean in the world to come and the next, beyond that too, wherever it is that later on, having developed the mind of awakening, based upon this mind of awakening, our fortunes continue to improve such that we achieve fortunate rebirth upon fortunate rebirth, and eventually moksha, and from moksha, omniscient Buddhahood. There is this progression based upon the mind of awakening, and when this is fathomed and understood, then it is also understood that one must preserve the mind of awakening, sustain the mind of awakening. This is done through conscientiousness. As one engages in bodhicitta with energetic discipline, one does so through conscientiousness, the topic of the 4th chapter of the Way of the Bodhisattva. And it is said that conscientiousness is the very root of the practice of the mind of awakening.
어예 산재기 출동용도 대시 너무 너무 총걸 당고 거래 대시 주고 거래서 그 대시 주고 내 타마 아니 나 저거송 아니 람르미기 내줘 람르미 르바니 파르지다 람지 저저 바 망고 송여로 되게 강가로 타마 아니 셈드에 탑 장장 송이 받아 되게 강가 탑 주가리 송어 이나양 아니 송어 탑지 랑게 셈드에 지도 송어 임받아 아니 그게 셈드와 되게 랑위 냠내디 수시 용화 제발라 아니 자와 파유디 개침부 임바 어디 되게 괜찮은 되게 시에 거네 아니 전주고 로종 제바이나 아니 람도 조당 차당을 하는 걸로 차는 무효래 손으로
All of the teachings of the Buddha, all of the dharma spoken by the Buddha, from the four truths of the noble ones in the first turning of the wheel and following the first turning of the wheel, all the way through that final utterance describing the mantrayana with its 2 stages, every step along the way, and all of the many steps along the way toward complete pacification of the mind. All of these dharmas taught by the Buddha are for the sole purpose of pacifying the mind. And where they are implemented by the application of conscientiousness. Where there is conscientiousness, then all of these realizations for the pacification of the mind come to pass.
어예 진짜 들려다 말아도 아니 찍다 바게다 수수수 니마니마기 냠네 아니 찍다라도 배당아도 최 연기요래 아니 최 검제기요래 아니 디네 빠지는 지금 추억 라랭 타다로 식시하는 집바다야 저바 차 저거 저바 필요가 지기요 손은 전부 사기요 이나야 만아도 최집 이게 강가 최를 아니 제바 되게 아니 자주 셈기 계획 귤을 줘왔다 산지지 고바토를 귤을 줘야게 스탄반낭신 마요마디 아니 교육 가내라고 왔으나 당아도 바유 때문에 야 뭐지 연구매가 인자 대기 또지 아주 내가 제바도야 산지고 고바토를 귤을 딱딱 좀마 두야지 아니 아주 바유 생겼다 아주 바유 생기고 간다 바유 뭐도 야고 뭐 시험이 있나 알고 있는 배 가다 니마니마 지난 산지 고바토를 귤을 두고 요바란 게 내가 간지 제바 있나야 제바 탐지 아니 손놈 사비 귤을 줘봐 산지 고바토를 귤을 줘야 돼 아니 바유 야고 바유디 야고 때문에 난 이게 차단 연구가 돼서
Now, in a practice that goes on day after day, as our practice does go on day after day, as we listen and contemplate and meditate upon the Dharma, and all that we do when we do practice the Dharma, in our generosity to others, in the practice of prostration and homage, making offerings, all of these practices which accumulate for a person their merit and autonomy, all of these practices, when they nevertheless do not conduce to awakening, when they do not become cause for the development of the mind of awakening, despite this being our wish, they do not, because conscientiousness is not maintained. Buddhahood is achieved through the sustained application of conscientiousness. Without it, it does not. So we must understand the nature of conscientiousness, what it is, so that everything that we do, all of our activities, are continuing to accumulate for us that autonomy and merit that becomes cause for the achievement of Buddhahood.
아니 그러겠다. 즉 예송의 내는 깨줘야 저다. 아니 지금 랑이 셈나가 즉 강에다 루지 나자도 건가고 간다. 아유 때마게 수수기 내가 제거되게 아니 셈 송해야 되게 아유띠 오 때는 송샤바 이나 아니 고 간다면 송을 내라 줘봐야 요 말에 아니 랑게 셈기 있잖아 그 메드가 막고 용아 그 다섯 막고 용아 저야 아니 고 신지기 빼 먼저로 빼 나자저 때 동해저 때 근데 제바들이 말에 랑랑 수수기 셈기 동다 마지 봐 아유띠 오마송이 깽기 아니 아주 땅이야 송을 줘봐야 아니 지금 봐야 랑로 빼 내가 메드가 막고 용아 되게 가가 아유 때바 중앙에는 이게 요구 매바다. 아유 마대바에는 이게 요구 요바. 이 내주지 아니 시험에 지원아 남다 가르쳐 보는 냐면 누구래요 손을.
Being born into a hell realm, all the mental distress we experience, all the physical pain we experience, these may be prevented by the practice of conscientiousness, so that everything that we do as we work to develop the mind of enlightenment is conducive to it and sustained by the conscientiousness. Where there's conscientiousness, there is no need to take a future rebirth in a hell realm. Everything that we desire to avoid, we may avoid, succeed in avoiding through conscientiousness. All of the pain and misfortune that we experience, none of it is caused by others. It is all caused by our own minds failing to observe conscientiousness, never by others. So all that we wish to avoid, births in the hell realms, we may, through the application of conscientiousness, where we fail to be conscientious, we experience these results, but where we are conscientiousness, all the fortunate paths too may be experienced.
어였다. 간다라 셈지 아주 마시바 그 칸에 되게 시심바 있네. 마시바 있네. 아니 거기에 손을 줘야 수강을 되고 요말 수강 그니 믿으고 가가 집어지냐래. 손을 줘 되니 수강 요말. 아니 집거게 주 시바 있네. 마시바 있네. 간다라 거 손을 줘 수강 요말 빼는 세딜레스. 빼는 수술 사샤바 있는 수 만화도 손을 던데 요말. 아니 수술 마지바 수강 되고 말아. 이나야 아니고 마지바 라메바 용거야지. 아니 게 가르쳐 왔으나 셈 마송아래. 바유 마데 말에 바유 때문이나 아니 셈 송그래 셈 송아이나 안고 내 송다 가와 로고야 진세요 말고 라메바 로고야지. 아니 게 가르쳐 왔으나 셈 마송 바유 마데 미kin기 중화래 송.
Every living being has in common, whether they can communicate or they cannot, a wish to avoid pain and misfortune. None wish for hellish experiences, whether one knows of the Dharma or does not. Regardless, one wishes to avoid hellish experience. And so now for us, naturally, we wish to avoid births in hell realms and any kind of misfortune and pain, but we find ourselves powerless against those misfortunes, and we are powerless because we fail to be conscientious. We lose that independence when we fail to be conscientiousness. There's no protection of the mind, preservation of the mind, where we fail in conscientiousness. And there are grave faults then to failure to be conscientious.
딱 한달 먼저 단다 바이오 때 봤을 때 바이오 생이 치디 그런 카도 지시 저에는 삽삽체 생이 되었다. 삽삽체 거다. 삽삽체 거다. 여러 저나 저랑 년가 여러 삽삽체 거다. 생도 되시도 이나야 삽삽체 지부 고안에 막 고가스 바이오 때 세야들라네 배. 삽 지시 봐 사모 수수기 냠랭 삼류 돈에 지시 사모체로 그런 거 남주고 따직 하게 냠내 제야다. 아니 즉 다단한 거 시에대 전주 선배 전주 전주 냠내지도 자주 생을 돌아 냠내죠. 냠내 제야 가르 수수기 니만 지금 도자니 동 간데 네 세사와이나 저 공부자와 있는 저 시행을 깨지셔와 있는 저 처법표 있는 집어당와 있는 이게 강가 바유 때문에 거네 아니 배 간제 자주 쌤을 야게 귤에 깨야다 귤에 깨봐 건 표 귤이야. 그래야 치도라 바유디 고구유바 덴데시엔 바보래서 아도 신시 여기 지기 바유 제거를 다서 지기 원 지기 다생 데기 때문에 바유 와요 말아 어디데 열에서
By conscientiousness, we might say, we mean cautiousness, carefulness. We say to others, you must be careful, there's grave danger. But this isn't the only meaning of conscientiousness, because the deeper meaning of conscientiousness, the one that applies to practice, is that, for instance, in an explanation of the way of the Bodhisattva, dealing with the mind of awakening, Bodhicitta, that the mind of awakening be present when one is rising, walking in motion, eating, drinking, talking with others, making offerings, practicing generosity, in each and every activity where there is conscientiousness. These activities cause the development of the mind of awakening. Where the mind of awakening has arisen, it intensifies bodhicitta. So what must be comprehended here is that conscientiousness means all of this.
랑기 니마치기 렉 제바 되게 랑 동해지에 귤을 두고도나 딱고비 바이오 때요 말했어. 니마치기 랑기 렉 가르쳐봐 되게 강아 수술로 대화용하게 귤을 두고도나 아니 바이오 때 맞어. 아빠 삼로 시도 당는 되지 열에서 맞아.
So each day, when activities only cause pain, they only cause pain because there has been no conscientiousness. In any day where an activity causes contentment for us, it does so because there has been conscientiousness. And this is the deep meaning of conscientiousness.
세상 대대인 수수기 한다르스 삽삽시스도 배도 장보로 제 정도 대대버진 바이오 때마서 차가 말했어. 아니 시행이 전화 야고 채우다선 수수기 야고 제외 공채나야 이 바이오 때문에 그만 두고 말했어. 일단 바이오 때에서 수수 그 셈데 송조 셈데 아니 셈 되게 야고 송투가 있나 셈데 송어 야고 송투가 있나 될라되는 루이다 나고 줘봐디 내가 보자 송투 그래 이 줘봐디 야고 송마도나 루이다 나고 줘봐 송나야 걔 내가 해도 누가요 말해서.
So by conscientiousness, we don't mean when someone says, be careful, be alert. This isn't the meaning of conscientiousness. We don't mean either what people will warn you, do what's right, do right here. That's not what's meant. What's meant is principally all depends upon mind, your mind, and it must be guarded. If your mind is guarded, then your speech, and your actions will be under control. Where your mind is not guarded, you may be controlling speech and action, yet your mind will be uncontrolled.
뭐야 산재게 손들어 취 숨도 잠봐야 내 결혼 타버가 남때였 타버데 내라 걸려 말 계란라 걸려 타버랑 라레시버지스 얘는 켜라 타버 남때지스 타버랑 라요 타버 얘는 켜라 타버 취되지스 타버랑 라요 버시버지스 수수 타버도 수수가 걸려 버시버지 송요레스 세상 알아서 최선이 있다 수인에다 장주선바이네다 개개인에다 가든 타바 톱거래 타바 톱나 케벤티요를 타바토야 라가 데레스요 톱주 데레 이때 투거레스 그냥 타바 두레 아니 수수고 말도나 아니 만년부터 제만 고세로 기업되는 가요 말해서
But the Bhagavan said, I have shown to you the way to liberation. Now all depends upon you. Liberation is in your hand, as I have shown you the way. You must understand that it is in your power now to achieve liberation. So the Bhagavan said, and so then any Bodhisattva, any teacher, whoever it is, they instruct in the benefits of moksha, in the path to moksha, in the means for achieving liberation. But it is you yourself who must achieve this. It isn't as though the Bhagavan is able to distribute liberation, share it with others in this way.
오야 된대래 진데 이제 맞다 간다 루시바데 아니 바이오 템바 생기도 고데 야고치 수수 셈나 야고 바이오 템바데 야고 차서나 아니 사님 마 수수 냠내 집도 있네자 고물집도 있네자 삼로도 가도 있는 바이나야 아니 간다 곰쟁이 버나 곰쟁이 질 차샤 바이나 곰잡도 뒤서 뭐 아니 바이오 템바 되게 곰들 남산 약부 소투야 차진 차상 상대로 열해서.
So the topic of the fourth chapter of the way of the Bodhisattva is conscientiousness. And if a person understands conscientiousness, then when they practice whatever the practice is, say it's meditation, so there's a meditator and they sit down to meditate, they will be successful in a meditation when they have understood conscientiousness and can apply it.
어디래 제대 인도자마다 맞아 단다 다시 보여 준주다 값을 셰루 시바 바이오 때야지 바이오 때마 딜라야 딱 간다 바이오 개월 두발라야 바이오 때고 니무 빵올라야 바이오 때고 딱 근데 인도자마다 바게 간다지 랑이 예바도 좀 세버세 예바 빵과 지알라 바이오 때마디 이거고 디다 개체에 난 당부 바이오 때 개체에 나와 당보 섭쟁하대. 내가 뭐 삼도 디두바 디두바나 디두마 섭쟁 자설 디두마바나 얘로 유고 봐서 섭쟁 당보 좋아. 가서 되는 거만 나와. 섭쟁 어디지? 디두마바나 아니 얘로 유고 봐. 산제도 세도 줘봐는 단념수 제봐. 아니 대전에 바꿔와 아니 년도께나 겨워도에 고가 매봐 아니 대전에 바꿔 윤세사가 디 개치부지 송거래서
Now where we are in the fourth chapter of the way of the Bodhisattva on conscientiousness emphasizes that to achieve any virtue, there must be conscientiousness. To abandon any klesha, there must be conscientiousness. To abandon any fault, there must be conscientiousness. And so conscientiousness in abandoning faults has 5 parts. Now these 5 parts are, first, failure to abandon negativity and downfalls results in continuous birth in hell realms. Second, the equality of the enlightening activities of the Buddhas and their heirs. Third, the difficulty of achieving the leisures and endowments. Fourth, the absence of opportunity to accomplish virtues when one is born in hell realm. And fifth, the reason leisures and endowments are so difficult to attain.
Oh yeah, that 이두만 보는 게 루드로그베 대로도 가르쳤다. 싸워도 그런 식으로 저 이거는 교류다. 대대 제대로 담지신 다기 구배 두벌차. 대는 좀 더 맞아도 원은 원도 도어 주루스. 주주 그런 것들 가도 자세 좀 보시고라 그런 수습도 되라고
The first conscientiousness in abandoning faults, which has 5 parts. The first part is where negativities and faults are not abandoned, the continuity of rebirth in hell realms. This is presented in the 12th verse on page 55. And so, according to my promise, I will act attentively from this day forth. If I now fail to strive, I'll fall from low to even lower states. This is the verse by Shantideva.
예, 땅아서 가진 건도 요 당고 니바 수박간 시야겠다. 윤샘하고 시야라. 시야바 나네. 주제세 시야바 나신 아니 나도 장주고 셈다. 계열 당고 몇바치 아니 장주 셈. 아니 장주 셈라 러비 삼바체 라페. 랑기 간다 셈제 탐제 단지니 보 대화로 거베 치도 산지니 고반 토고도 삼베 삼바데. 시제로 뒤에서 땅사랬잖아. 아니 디네다 장주선배 딜러 샘도 송아 치도라 장주선배 쩌발라 라비아 치도 아니 다 죽샘 뭐sem도 죽샘 이 아니 라기다 켈렌 사바라 다 켈렌 차는 다 가르쳐다 도바 장주선배 도바도 모투니 송아이는 하장 표현 전부 여바다 마 송아이는 이미 여바 오 된적이 균제 시에베 권에 아니 라기다 내가 가다 장주선배 도발을 러비 켈렌바 어디를 켈렌 사버로다 켈랑바디 아니 라기다 그거 침부고네 루부가 다 마두나 그러나 아니 다 산지지 고반 세디가 세디라 마토나야 아니 제와 규제 탑에 여봐 어디를 기베디게 시다 계속 장주선배 모투는 바 말아버치네 잠샤 장주선배 르땅 되게 제바 있나야 아니 다 가르치 그랬어. 아니 다 저랑 게 아니 다 랑가 야도서 랑가데 가사르다 저랑 마도 그냥 손을 놓고 했어. 그냥 손 못하면 깨고 그랬어. 가서 어디 가서 지가 뭐만 하는 시에 잘해서
In the first 3 chapters of the Way of the Boddhisattva, chapters 1, 2, 3, we learned many reasons for the mind of awakening. Again, we return to one. Like those reasons given in those early chapters, we find that where the mind of awakening has developed, and it develops first through the aspiration to the mind of awakening, the aspiration to bodhicitta, aspirational bodhicitta, which is the thought, I will train in bodhicitta. I will place all sentient beings in the contentment of Buddhahood. This thought, this aspiration has occurred. And then it was to be preserved. It was to be executed. One was to engage in it, and one promised to engage in it. And this is engaged bodhicitta. The aspiration and the engagement has occurred. And now the preservation of the vow is the activity that leads to great benefits. The failure to preserve those vows, violation of those vows, has grave disadvantages because one has formally promised, one has made a commitment to the mind of awakening. And so then one would respectfully execute according to one's promise. When one fails to train in the mind of enlightenment after making these promises, when one leaves off this project that one has begun, then what comes? There's no more upward movement for you. That way has been closed by you. There's only a way downward now for you. as a consequence of having abandoned the mind of awakening.
Oh yeah, that's the any that one to your son your song but it go ahead in center that you just not song was the person any that under don't top the temper. That the but top the temper, don't top the temper yourself, that the table and call your song the king you by Indian. And it's just that you some little town, rally, you some kellang but tea, and it ran the most was a little town, 아니 자주 좀 캐나고 동화 땅하게 아니 예바 첨부 요가 계속 시제가만 나도 그래서 동화 떴다 대바 동화 떴다 대바 되게 제부 가르는 제부가 손을 끼그래 아니 손 살찌기는 되게 야 타르쳐줘 요래 대요 말에 손은 균이 마음을 깨고 요가 인자 아니 고 예바 하장의 첨부 요가 인자 아니 대체네 아니 다자 자주 선배 또 캐나고 아니 당규요 말 못해도 봐. 아, 가르쳐가 저거를 해서 나오는 송구가 해서
Increasing misfortune, deepening misery in hell realms. Why is this called for when the mind of enlightenment is violated? It is because the transgression has occurred, the negativity has occurred, where there is such violation, rather, where there is such a transgression and such a negativity, the force of the transgression and negativity causes rebirth in the hell realms. Abandoning the commitment to the mind of awakening, failing to preserve the mind of awakening, as promised, entails rebirth in hell realms. And once this occurs, when one is in a hell realm, is it easy to liberate oneself from that state? It is not easy to liberate oneself from that state. And so it is said to be continuous. And the consequences then of the violation of the mind of enlightenment are very grave. So one preserves the mind of enlightenment, sees it through to the end.
Oh yeah, what the do that the borrow top what's that she got wasn't that and that choice legio that carsnani down and Sanje the Chanju somebody zogi any no son my give a job to marwe that's what it that the subject that the Quran is shungi subject that us Sanje the Chanju somebody Daniel to Zebas Daniel to Zebas that's what the Garzanta any going as on like Sanje the Chanju somebody to job to marwe Carson Jobu or marwes or what is legio or response.
But then a person may doubt this, or question may arise about this, that should one fall into hell realms, shouldn't the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas be able to protect one from such a plight? The outline of the text itself answers to say that there is equality in the enlightening activities of the Buddhas and their heirs. The equality in the enlightening activities of the Buddhas and their heirs answers to this question. Would it be there would be Buddhas and Bodhisattvas unable to intervene and protect one?
Oh, yes, that is so. Yeah, the same gene depends. The Sanje Chame, Dejurjang Dagi Rangi Nyebe T. The
verse is verse 13. The equality of the enlightening activities of the Buddhas and their heirs. In verse 13, striving for the benefit of all that lives, unnumbered Buddhas have already lived and passed away, but I, by virtue of my sins, have failed to come within the compass of their healing works.
Oh yeah, that indeed about that it's the Jeshi Jandu. Some general the Pember Zebe Sanje Changmeba. They do Juyans, the Handa Sanje, the Chanju Samba Zola, some general Jabeg, Zewa Chazan Yore, and Jobu Sambe took the Jobu, Majobu Samba Sambaya Yomare, and then be Jobu Samba Taji to Jobu is and the Samba Taji to Yore. Oh, Zeta, and Sanjanam Jita, under Job Matubaya Mare, Kagachasan, Job, and Yuvachasan, Yore, what is for.
To explain the meaning of this verse, striving for the benefit of all that lives, unnumbered Buddhas have already lived and passed away. The Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas have the love to protect all sentient beings. This they have. These sentient beings I won't protect. There's no such thought among the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. I will protect these vulnerable sentient beings. This thought characterizes all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There is no Buddha, no Bodhisattva incapable of protecting sentient beings.
Oh, yeah, Sanji Konazuke, Semje Mambo, Pena Pesachana Tandanga, Maramzu, Tembe Tabo, Sajatuba, Korangi Lamla Lobu Zamba, Korangi Kejen Tamesum to Tosava, Geba Tambuka Zola, Sanji Dunti Chikton, Tene Dunti Dundon, Dundi Otede, Sanji with the Chobapi Chase. Anyway, Sanjay Tame was a child to Chobapi, the Sanjay, some Mamma Sanjay Salu. See, Tenaji, Sanjay Susu with Sanjay Tana Deba. Ania Tarbe Lamla Ko Sabaki. Ani Tanga Jamu to a Kanga Yorika, Chungi Yorite, and Rani, that Sanjay Tiki Job Matuati, Anita Karichevares, the Tobaderwa, Karjin Job Matuare, Sanjay Majovare. Sanjay Norvare, Susan Norvare, is that what the Gala response?
Well, Jang Karisa and Jame Kabat.
Jebatame Sum.
Oh, Kabat Jame Sum. Any Dambo de la? Dambo de la.
Sanjay, the Tambo de la Sanjay Dunti Chikdon.
Dunti Chikdon.
And the Dunaton Dunti Dundonsia.
Ale.
Oh, the Dela Chat, the Chobapini. Sanjay Betagama with this. Chat the Chubapu, you the Sanjay Sang, Mamma Jetadua.
Lala Lani Sange Dashi Dumba and a Sange Shamba and a Bemambo. And Jawa Jawa Loyu Yor.
But Sanjay Koran Lam Lodu, Loran Sanjay Marda.
Lala,
Jebata, Jeje Thomas with Sosarwa, Tamut Solam the Jolam, Solam the Gazula, Jason Tamut Sosa, Jolam Goji, and Tolam told the Kitchen Sumba Sosarwa.
I like Jolam the Sumpade. Right.
Although Sumba Sarwa. Or it is a Mokrang and Sanjay Donda Titu, the Jet, the little Chobapu, Sanjay Mamu Chobapu, the Sama with Yetadua. Sama with Sanjay Mamu San Yetar. Sanjay Tedagi, Sanjay Mamu Bay, San Tarbal Gosarwa. Gosar in a Dikojo, Tangan, Susumale Barwa. Chetan Maleveti and Sanjay Zubi, Mazulu Masiware, Susu Chetan Maliware, that what it is.
And Honda, then Sangi Dashatumba, Sam Magiri Munla, and a salt sat Zambala, and they do, and they Sangi Pemabo and Sangi Ross, and they and the Dunchi and the Chikton, Naton, and they gave it off, Sangi. Sanjay related Chubapu, Sanjay Tanga the little Chubapu, then Sanjay Tanga Yamato Mamu Pesarwa, and Sanjay Rega Sanjay Tanga Mamu Pesarwa, in a Koyo Tangana, Nazumale, Nazumale word, and Sanjay Digi, Masiware, and Nazuchita, whatever. The Buddha Shakyamuni engaged in 3 countless eons of practice before achieving enlightenment. And during these 3 incalculable eons, there came many Buddhas achieving enlightenment, venerated by that Buddha Shakyamuni, training as a Bodhisattva at that time. Buddhas, 70,000, 71,000, 75,000, 77,000, countless Buddhas venerated by the Buddha Shakyamuni, and each of those Buddhas liberated countless sentient beings in this time. And as this happened, as the Buddha engaged in the practice on the path of accumulation for 2 of those incalculable eons, and the path of preparation for the 3rd of those incalculable eons. During that time, all of the Buddhas who achieved enlightenment and liberated countless beings, did they overlook me personally? Did they have no sympathy for me personally? Aren't they able to protect me personally? This is the question. Is it the responsibility of the Buddha that they did not, that I have been left as I am? Or is it my responsibility?
Oh, yeah. That is that Sanjay Rala Majoba Mare, Yo Matubaya Mares, Jomdu Mebaya Mare, Red in a round the job into us. And Karjin and Majoba Res, and that's somebody. Dagi, Rangi, never taste. The Rangi, and Sanjay job to Sagi. Saja in a COVID left such or till Malabar was in a Malabar in the and that job Matua race. That Rangi Susu Lemba and Mando, Sanjay Lemba Mares. So,
Did the Buddhas fail to protect me? Were those Buddhas unable to protect me? Did those Buddhas not wish to protect me? But I am still here vulnerable? The response is, but I, by virtue of my sins, have failed to come within the compass of their healing works. Where the Buddhas are and are active, I myself fail to appear.
oh, yeah, better than the Jarasana. Member, the Neso Chidula, man jam, member Chavarwa. I could Neso Chidula cook that man tango in a dot, Jokarso, member Chiguro. Ina young, never Koran, never Nejincha, Taya never another subsidiary Chatana, and a member get up. I job 2 months on Gonda. And Tiran Benazza de Chasa, I job 2 months on, never Lutangroas. Or Tinashin, that's Sanjay Zoganita, job Sangi Yor, Jobay, Pocket Sajin, Sangi Yor day, job called Rangi, Susu pet that Sanjay job to have Chajin on a Maleva Inza, and it was Hava Essons. Member never job Matu, Pelchan, and the special song your Esson.
An example or an illustration is the education of a doctor who studies medicine, and then having studied medicine becomes a doctor and is able to make prescriptions and provide treatments. But if a patient becomes very ill and only comes to see the doctor when their illness has become chronic and there's no longer a treatment available to them, it isn't that the doctor doesn't wish to treat them or has no treatment and is unable to provide any treatment at all, but the patient has failed to come at the opportune time to receive a treatment.
Oh, the race that in a super de la. And it cheat with you, Madam Yamasgata, subject this. And this daughter, the Gana account that you want to subject super de daughter. Sanjay the Tanu Zavata, and Junior call the subject around the Chijote. Cheat with you, Madam Yana, and it digs out the la. Tadun Teshin, Dajena, Yanda Yandu Teshin days. Nendru Neta Chiwatan. Jeda, Shakes on your jurors. What are you doing? What in Chile? Then Tadajo Matuna, Jela, Yogure, Sambata, it is something they were enough. The answer to Mares on that.
A person may think, perhaps later I will.
다다 카도 맞으나 제일 좁으래서 되게 좀 되나 대한 쪽도 말해서
Perhaps one would wonder, then later on the Buddhas will be able to provide protection. But later on too, the Buddhas will not provide protection when one fails to present oneself. And so the 14th verse, and this will always be my lot if I continue to behave like this, and I will suffer pains and bondage, wounds and laceration in the lower realms.
어디서? 제가 다 칠을 가르치는 쪽 두고 말해서 다 저거대로 제일 가르치는 쪽 말해서나 아니 딱 다동 대신 다 채나서 딱 아주 다동 세대 렉배나 아주 레가지나 추대가 모두 제 임배 다들 또 뭐만 제사로 다도 제 임배스도 어디나시 뭐만 제원나시 다들 제는 대바이나 아니 간다 집어래 야도 대가랑 코아나 꼬라긴 대야르마도 이제 산지로 좁에서 어제 간요 말했어 어디 지 당분이 돼서 산지가 좁에 주유를 내려 말했어 산지가 좁에 거기 좁 두야 사제들 레모토도 차요래서
Perhaps then later the Buddhas will provide this protection. Should one think this way, better to realize that and this will always be my lot if I continue to behave like this. If I continue to behave like this, we'll say to another, you have been behaving like this. Is this going to continue? Are you going to continue to do the very same thing? And if one does do this, continues in the same way, then the only prospect is of return again and again to cyclic existence, never availing oneself of the protection of the Buddhas, never appearing oneself to be protected by the Buddhas.
예, 제가 산지는 이쪽 되고 주도 먼저로 인상 아니 동해 못하는 연구가 연구를 해서 동해배 가다 양도 코아나 코네 동해 연구가 돼. 어디나시 연구를 해서 동해 그 가다 내송을 내려 탈바도 연구 말에 내송을 내고가도 연구를 해서 어디서 뭐라도
One will not avail themselves of the protection of the Buddhas, and so the suffering will be continuous, and I will suffer pains and bondage, wounds and lacerations in the lower realms. There will only be the prospect of continuous cyclic existence. It is not easy to ever be liberated from the suffering of hells. More likely is continuity of rebirth in hells.
야, 기시 예전에 다른 대로를 깨봐 있나양 아니면 단 내게 아니 내다 치워게 배 동에 망고 연구와 못하는 연구가 그래서 대마도 아니 배 간다다 지기 바에 제바다 아니 즉 소설에서 샤워도 더워서 좀 하게 되게 동에 와라 타라는 거 못하는 연구가 간가 연구를 해서
Or should one have the happy fortune to be liberated from the hells, then one will nevertheless experience illness and death, and it will be torturous, conceivably, involving corporal punishment, laceration, mutilation, being smashed with hammers, having one's limbs severed by swords and the like.
가다다 레디 제바스도 강발을 나와서 제바 류기 바 솔려서 류바 셔바 뚜바 중고서 되는 거로 아니 지금 하게 대자 더 반응하고 토하라 소바다 평산도 차샤바 있는데 천재 동자여 누구도 하면 되네 이래라 동네 제바 이것도 왔다 되게 가가 가다 남이게 제부 되게 가가 연구를 해서
That they Nyawala, Yamana, Niki, Tomaya, then to
너 리드 톱나 톱나 밀드 톱에 대도 톱 대버 이나야 아니 가자고 동해 모두는 요구요 봐 어디 숨어
One may have the fortune of a rebirth as a human being, nevertheless experience amputations, operations where one's chest is opened. There are all sorts of devices for torture, not fit for even beasts. These one may experience. The point being, suffering will nevertheless, with this fortune of a human rebirth, be continuous.
어야 다 sabje subade da di sanji sanji kyo motu begita beta junze dige 다 subade tenjo nye ka wasan da tenjo 다 다다 가나도 밀리 톱 되어라 다 제가 뭐만 남서 가나도 배 마시 소 친구 사깔이 친구 잡니 달래 밀리 좀 지지 톱 되어 대다고 밀리디 아니 소소가 양조 톱이야 되게 내다고 여러서 요마를 배텐조 예뭐 신도 까와래 이미 빼선 거 여래서 sabject 심마되기
This is followed by verses indicating the difficulty of achieving a precious human rebirth with the leisures and endowments. It is by the force of merit accumulated in past lives that one ever does inherit a precious human rebirth. And it won't ever easily come again. It is very difficult in the first place to ever achieve the precious human rebirth with leisures and endowments.
야, 다디 토베치도 다치디 주주고 치디 가르다 지신시에 뭐 중화당 대다 밀루 토바당 대공 중화 대다고 권한 남시 토벌 줄 치디
The verse then presenting this difficulty of achieving the leisures and endowments is verse 15. The appearance of the Buddhas in the world, true faith and the attainment of a human form and aptitude for good, all these are rare. When will they come to me again?
야, 다디는 다들 샤신도 빼던데 망고 열선이 빼들 대슈 아니 저시적인 들어지만은 저시 접초가 제스들이 넣어다 주주고 들어도 대샤 들어간 식사와 고축신 샤인다 어디지 아니 들어간다 곰친다 곰친주 시작이 안디인다 주주고 들어도 삼대샤 다디는 나도 다기 지금 바이오 제도도 바이오 공단 거라도 곰친주 시작으로 해서
This completes the way of the Bodhisattva as our topic. There remain other examples, other illustrations to give. Allow me to continue with this presentation next week. We will stop here for now. We made some headway into new verses here. And now we can meditate. We'll stop here with the text. And we've been considering conscientiousness. How would we meditate?
야, 다 들은 것도 곰 알게 버려. 곰 자에 곰문에 자얘기 딱 곰 잡수다 봐. 곰 자얘기 땅아서 바로 수곰 잡이 봐. 단다 내 공부 있었다. 내에서도 내 공부 있었다. 곰 얘기 따로다. 아주 곰해야 되었다. 그게 다뭐 이 공부로 봐. 이또 샘들. 이 샘로 리바스인다. 또 저거 같은 민민도 봐도 나또 찍으다. 샘센터 샘스. 야, 다 샘제. 다 샘디 곰도 잡아. 곰라로 로바. 샘중도 고고요. 샘중도 좀에나 샘이 공부도 믿어야. 샘이 간데서 공부도 믿어야. 나도 지게다. 내가 지게 되게 샘중되게 지고로 제가 대치들 들행하고 가르 공부해서 아무 조심지 삼았다. 아니 샘디 딱 간데스 공부도 믿어 따야게 치돌라 아니 봐야게 봐요게 바유가 나왔다 시신이다 트레바스기도 좀 내가 간다시기 어디 걸로 검주의적인 있어.
Now, when meditating, when a person is really meditating, that meditator will think to themselves, I am meditating. The meditation, that which undergoes meditation, is mind itself, is intelligence, is consciousness. Now, to facilitate a meditation, what is involved? Mental factors or derivative cognitive states that accentuate a primary consciousness. These are employed in a meditation. Which factors are monitoring, which states are monitoring the primary consciousness, which are supporting the primary consciousness. So what we will do is establish a primary consciousness and find how conscientiousness is monitoring and supporting the meditation, conscientiousness, which itself employs a mindfulness and an inward vigilance.
Oh yeah. 당아들 쌤디 소 공전이 소 쌤디 그게지. 다 쌤디라 곰래 곰이 야고 유한 그 탑시 지인들라 쳔바다 시신이제. 아 곰들라야 너바지니 나라 곰디 곰단 노래야기 사진 가려워서나 지와당 고반이요. 고바당 지와니 버디 곰 마주니 곰은 너바지 니디 본인이요래서.
In a meditation, it is the meditation of the mind, the meditation of consciousness. Its success depends upon the cognitive states involved, mindfulness, vigilance, that which interferes with and prevents a meditation of the mind is excitement and laxity. Excitement, laxity, these prevent one mind from meditating, harm a meditation in progress.
뭐야? 뭐 정화도 그거 뒤에서 뭐시나? 아니 야고요. 정화디 쌤도 검도 좀 쌤디 미과를 봐 만내 봐지. 미과 마세워 차이디. 미과 마세워지. 아니 쌤디 거기 따다 궁금해서 차야디. 정화제. 야 쌤디 베 삼로 미과를 침잖아. 미과 베 숙체잖아. 야 고바지에 베 쌤베 도고 차냐. 고바지에 어디 야마 정화 지도 쌤디야 됐자. 고바지도 쌤데스 마빠비야 어디 시험을해서 이제 개침을해서.
Excitement and laxity interfere with a successful meditation. First, the laxity. The laxity prevents the object of meditation from appearing clearly. The mind in its meditation does not remain alert. Laxity sets in. In excitement, where the meditating mind intensifies its efforts such that it self-constricts and grows agitated, this is excitement. A familiarity with these two benefits meditation.
Oh yeah, that's one of the company. That watching 쳔바다 시신이로 쳔바디기 샘디기 미발라 바 담못다와 나시 담도 거 요함에 바 무투니 바다 중니 미바디 말라와치는 다 중니도 쳔바디 지금 해서 시신되기 샘되기 따다 내가 제기 되는데 샘도 곧 미버들 따다 대되는데 군이 주저로 왔대 시신들에서 뭐지
Mindfulness recollection or mindfulness is the recollection of the object of meditation, so that the object of meditation may be sustained and prolonged stably as the object of meditation. This recollection puts in place the object of meditation, holds in its place the object of meditation in the mind. Vigilance, inward vigilance, monitors to see that the mind is engaged as it is intended. It is monitoring.
Oh yeah. 샘 코랑 가진 거 때서 얘기하잖아. 샘 코랑 삼선 미기 온보 나는 로선 미기 넘버 7. 남조 나로서는 하얀 넘버 7. 너구 나로는 지 하얀 넘버 7. 아니 제레 가운데는 로이 넘버 7. 아니 류지 가운데서는 류지 넘버 7. 온보 칠로 맞아 맞아 나로 돼서는 이기 넘버 7. 어디지 고쳐 그래서
Consciousness a primary consciousness may engage through a sense faculty, thereby becoming a principal consciousness of that sense faculty, for instance, vision and vision's consciousness, visual consciousness. That is vision. Or when the primary consciousness is engaged with olfaction, it's olfactory consciousness. Or with gustation or somatosensation. These are primary consciousnesses engaged through a sense faculty. When the primary consciousness is only inwardly engaged, it is mental consciousness.
Oh yeah. 자, 먼저 단다. 가서 가르치 공부는 당부 이기 넘버 7바디. 미기 온번날 같아. 미기 온번 맞다. 아니 수수고 가수 내도 따기나다. 아니 꾸르 따기나 가리 따기나 당부 들렸다. 아니 콜세보 샤라체. 아니 세보 샤라디. 아니 주 검니. 미보데 말라바 chen. 아니 쳔바데 시신이를 찌제라니. 쳔거도 따는데 아니 쳔바데 시신이가 딸 내가 쳐버려서.
So what occurs in the meditation? Primary consciousness, that would be mental consciousness, it engages through the eye faculty, perceiving external form. It may be a flower, it may be a representation of the Buddha. Sees this clearly, sees, and then brings what it sees in, not losing it, and then gives its authority over to the derivative cognitive states of recollection and inward vigilance.
저 뭐야 다마도 가만히 고민해야 다스 가리 공부했으나 샘디 길라 샘이 여버도세 아니 샘디기 다 수수비 거기 미국 가르치는 데라다 아니 다 사료서 맞다 따죠 미국 되게 틀려 내가 내니 아니 로번이디 샘그 소리네야 샘 소리도 니 봤대 아니 샘디기 내가 지게 되면 돼 샘디기 간다 샘디기 Porque 미국 파주 마요와 때무치는 데니 스니 쳔바 셈디 예들라샤 다 예들라 쳔바디다 셈디니디기 다 미국디 따따 냐도미데 고 축도미데 제바치니 시신 어도 셈중이디 이제 끼를 셈데제 디 티들 셈을 주네 봐야 내가 내니 셈중이 봐 Desh me was some time. Miss Semdi Packet Suzu Ban method was that method Suzu till a cartoon they do stuff and do me what they let and assembly to method come and the comjo de me what the part you could do the diet chamber. Our the dig and the chamber legate to Seneco me conduct me what the cause the data read in the 대되면 땅에 시시 어디든지 셈로 좀 까마치 거면서
Okay, now we'll meditate for a minute. Have the principal consciousness, the primary consciousness in the middle. Whatever you are looking at, which will be the object of the meditation, that is the principal basis of the meditation. Have the mind engaging with that in the middle. Then employ these two cognitive states, these two mental factors, vigilance and mindfulness, as supports for maintaining the object of meditation. On the right, the recollection of the object, that mental factor that is ensuring that the consciousness is not deviating from its object, is holding fast to its object. And then on the left of this mind, the vigilance, which is looking to see the object that is maintained in the meditation. Is it being disturbed? Is it being agitated? Here you have in the middle the primary consciousness with whatever it is that you've looked to make the basis of the meditation. It might be a flower or whatever is near that you see, and you are meditating upon it. You are looking to see with that mental factor on the right, the recollection. Is it recollected? Is it sustained stably by the mind? And on the left, the vigilance is seeing, is the engagement being disturbed?
Oh, me mazumache and Suzumi create Punguta. And it's somebody to somebody the legacy of the da. And Uya does not ten and Udbam Malebato. And Pajakamachis come to the Sango to the racing also. So we then see comes us about in that one.
Okay, now look at what will be the object of the meditation. Then employ the support of the two mental factors. Bring in their support. And then draw the breath in. And I think you'd be able to hold it around a minute without exhaling again. And now meditate.
Yeah, come there.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3.
옷 간다 옷이 마 갈래 려라 같은데 옷이 슈좀 쉬어서 내가 옷이 마 갈래 아니야 내가 공부는 어디야 태 까마지 지들이 아니 그 잡을 때뭐 제도는 거유를 담아서
One releases their breath gradually, slowly. I exhaled suddenly, losing control of the breath. But you would release your breath slowly and then inhale again and resume the meditation. And when this gradual exhalation and re-inhalation and meditation is repeated, then the recollection of the object of meditation will naturally be prolonged.
다 타고 장도 미과 세고 가서 세고 소토 거스 아니 미 타고 미 당는 미과 때도 되네 미 좀나 미과 말하고 안베 미때 바트 미과데 말하고 진 제반야야 당고 탑시 당고데 고바 당고데 되래서
One would make the object of meditation as clear as possible, so clear that widening the eyes doesn't disturb its stability, closing the eyes doesn't change its appearance and clarity.
근데 전에 미과 때뭐 저도 아니 갈래 미과 제고 자야 미과야 망다 바즈버스 데스 때뭐 차차네 내가 그래서
When the recollection becomes prolonged, then one can change the object of meditation, can multiply the object of meditation. Changing the object of meditation and increasing their number, these follow from having prolonged the recollection of the object.
Oh yeah, that is the way in the case of shares.
Now, if there's any doubts or anything that comes to mind, let's talk about it. But I think are there any no question?
This is kind of random, but I went to church on Sunday, so this is on my mind. In the story of Jesus' crucifixion, he actually goes to hell and then is raised from hell. And so in Christianity, it's said that Jesus actually has the power to like lift people out of hell that they call upon him. Interesting difference.
네, 이슈기 속과 강나 친바인. 아니, 네 두안에 라마치 쳐기도 와. 쳐치기도 와. 아니, 네 이슈기 네 뭐라 그래. 아니 이 이슈기 세드 잠라 당보 아니 이슈기 말 아니 냐와라 아니 셰크버레사. 아니 냐와라 셰크네. 아니 냐와바 된서 아니 가시 말이다 말 셰크버와. 아니 말 셰크버 sonson 아니 이슈라 아니 냐와바 된서 야 아니 타르 얘기 누구 요래 꺄 얘기 누구 요래스 라기도 간세나 데 이슈 아니 마트롱 원라 아니 냐와라 셰크버레 말 셰크버레 어레 뜻다가스 슈기요
주로 와서 지단아도 제시 경력이 더네 아니 수수 출룩 찍으시 뭐 지다 시부지 아니 셀라 출룩시 달라 담아매 교이나 그래서 니주 제시 밀어 잡은 거로 와 수수 출룩을 담아이나 내가 군조 이슈 군조 당 쓰기 이유나 그 심지 교배 미거 요 켈려고 와서 어디서
다들 이야기 지성할 거나 맞죠?
출룩 담아 출룩을 담아매 출룩 수수 출룩도 배시고 야고 이제 출룩 말에 라미 유나 그 섬담당 미주 가가라 왔어 수수 군조 가가라 담아도 야고 유나 아니 군조 이슈래요 심지 교배 미거 요 켈링게 따기로 와서
아니 걔는 괜찮으래
수위는 그 단위 미수이다.
Жесть, таинственный.
신나고 꼭
소소인.
와 소소인 배다 이파중
남바이나야, 남바이나야.
나의 따져 가서 배다
따져.
대시 방어제
Ладно,
와서 군주 다다 군주를 이슈를 찾아봐야 그 전주세배 냠내징
ладно,
전주세배 냠내징이나 저기로
ладно.
제가 선제 고교 두고 이유가 걸린 게 돼서
This is a story of this is a story. It's an account given of these activities of Christ. Now, such accounts can become problematic for any person who only has some excessive attachment to one religion over another. But for a person who, in whichever tradition they're practicing, has developed pure perception, then they can appreciate in any such account and accept the potential that, for instance, Christ does in fact have the power to liberate beings from hell. For a person who merely has some attachment to a religion, and then this can become problematic. But for any person, a Buddhist may look to the activities of Christ and acknowledge the activities of a Bodhisattva, and acknowledge and accept that such a person would have the ability to liberate hell beings.
그걸 뭐마 이슈가 아마지어도 네 먼저게 저름적인 공조 간대감주다 이슈 추가니 주주탄 여기로 재단이 고바디 주로 배봉 벌고 또 이슈 추가를 로버기와 어디나시 고바디 벌기로 안 버도 아마디다 이슈 추가라 지수 지도선 아마디 신대 침부제스 아니 신대 침부제 로직제 로니스제 로니와들 아마디 아마디거나 이슈를 생각 배고 그런 거 군조 이슈고 배 유네시에 아니 시리즈만 고바디 라마디가 군조 배자 첨보를 먼저 군조를 제름신 주거를 해라 아주 아마디가 그 두자로서 삼된 거 이는 라마디기 갈라고 두자 라마 꽃자 첨보를 제름제 주거를 그런 거 자치주 제름 쓰고 되게 주거를 하러 야고를 하러 이는 셈 저거는 아마디가 오늘 그 군주 내 군주 책임도 그런 군주 책임 좀 고생 남도 야구만 제로
알라 티카르사네 이시기 아마디게 아니 신답티 공부를 나오므로
공부 필요와
알라네
그런 신도 표고 이제 갈
라
이슈고 중간 제 지도 표고 요서와 그다음에 제일 이슈고 다 첨부 입에 그런 게 아마 라마들 시작도 근데 라마들 자체보래 군조래 제름지 주거래 라마들 두제 라마로 제름지 주거서 야골라고 계잖아 이나 아멘 섬나는 갈거래 그 야골라면도 그 군조 책임도 섬 남도 제로 그니 그 섬다나 같이서 제가 우리 섬다나 개발될 요래서
For example, there's a story of a Christmas season in Nepal, and it was also on that year Lama Tsongkhapa Day and or the 100 deities of Tushita Day and Christmas fell on nearly the same day, and so the Buddhist monastery was lit up as is customary on the 100 devas of Tushita Day. But there was a Christian woman, an older Christian woman who saw this, and since it was around Christmas time, thought that the Buddhist monastery was observing Christmas as well. And seeing this, that old Christian lady made a very generous donation to the Buddhist monastery, and then the next year made another generous offering to the monastery, and then met with the abbot of the monastery and said, your you're observing Christmas, our Lord and Savior is a wonderful thing. And the abbot replied, Christ, the Lord and Savior, is a wonderful emanation of Jetsongkhapa. And the Christian lady was taken aback. The abbot hadn't said anything offensive, but to the Christian woman, it seemed to be quite different from what she had expected, and this sort of illustrates the way that the views may diverge on the same figure. So each person will have their way of thinking and their way of venerating a person, and each person has their way.
Yeah, I don't want to use them.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Firstly, Geshe-la, when you released your breath, it was very calm and gentle. I felt like mine was more rushed. So I have two questions. And then the first question has two parts. And the second question is about meditation. So when we're talking about the virtuous things that we do in life, so we're trying to accumulate the virtues and the merits of the virtuous actions and all. But sometimes we still mess up. So for example, like today I was washing dishes and I put on the sink and then I noticed there was a spider, but it was too late, and then the spider probably drowned and got washed down the drain, and now I'm like, oh no, I killed the spider. And so that is on my conscience. So I don't know where the deviation lies between how much virtuous activities I can do and how much I have to be practical. So that's the first question. And the second question is, when you say there's like the precious human rebirth is very difficult to attain. However, we see so in a scientific and present sense of the world, we see the population increasing, and then we also see lesser beings, such as various species of animals. They're dwindling and on the verge of extinction. So I was wondering, there's still so many precious human births taking place, but there is also a lot of suffering in the world. So I was wondering if the population increase since like the times of Buddha, like how like the change in population, like if that can be explained. And then the third question is actually from Sujata, and it is about meditation. And if you could explain more about what you meant by recollection and vigilance being in the right and left sides of the mind.
Oh yeah, then 딱 숨이로 네 당보디 다 맞아 아니 개외 자원에서 아니 라베전 제거로 아니 개와 드비라 라베전 제대요 아니 가서 아니 개와 드비라 아니 like 지겨 이내야 삼삼다 별거 마신도 되나 예 아니 타파 아니 뇌시든서 취드 잠발라 다직 아니 부동직 레네 아니 말 조사 데라 아니 템네 시조선 아니 제잔데 교선 계선 삼삼데 가려도 그래 체급에 자와 아니 뇌제 취야 나이신 당 아니 개와 드비야 기참 가와샤 그래 이제 나드네
어디 당고 잠못 쓰시. 당고 자창이 저랑 빌려가 지단데 뒤거래서 그렇게랑 교수님 깨어디 아니 다 싫어 야보래서 교수님 깨투어디 싫어도 요 침보래서 아니 고 수술 이버들라 수술을 고 섬제디 쓰선 매바 인자 디버 싫어 춘주 요래서 굴ung 요 말와 쇠베사 뭐 굴ung 매로 디버 춘주 이버들라 आर्थिक भाषाओं से विज्ञान के बारे से था कि बच्चा आर्थिक बार या पर रेस कि केवे छो छाती और रेस
So let me address the first thing that came up. This is fine. What happens fine. Especially that you immediately develop remorse. That itself is very positive. That you're able to develop remorse quickly. This is virtuous. There was no intention to take the life of the spider. There was no motivation that caused you to deliberately take the life of the spider. So the non-virtuous is not very significant, especially for the remorse that developed quickly.
어떻게 참 지시디 생긴 심중 지시 제거와 심중 나는 교바 가도라는 지시 셀 그거에서 어떻게 손해.
This mental factor of remorse, we will discuss as part of the overall presentation of derivative cognitive states, of mental factors. So more of an answer to remorse will come then.
어떤 이유가 간지.
Then anybody Ale, de carisane Luten Rinpoche se roa Luten Rinpoche de Mazo ane dengrap sarbe ge ane tsinre ge tatsu la pakbe mi zambalengi mi por cheru droshin barwa ane dunro ge rektenzo kashi ane tongro barwa ta jizande ane mi maru droi kap de la simjin dunro ge rektenzo ane nyuru drona ta dik dela kare kandis ane sungre dela kare labio
알아서 알아 당보되라 만두고 미기 통해 심제나 미기 마통해 심제잖아 미기 마통해 심제데 야자 제가 망아요래 직제 어디 돼서 아야 따티는 판단하고 밀루 알아서 통주라 밀루 레니 망보여 봤다고 사무실 걸고 요래 다 야자파 고나 제가 유유레스 심제기 심지 릭직 동거 요래 심지 릭직 마을 보고 요래스 그래서 자제치나 밀루링이 싫어 자제 뉴레스 이제 숨바텔라 단단 건도 밀루 림보첸세 밀루 림보첸기 미제 강가로 밀루 림보첸데 잘 두고 말했어 어디서
그래서 아니 dunrogi rektik tongro 아니 심바치 텔로
들로 릭망보로
mambo ni kaise sardi kegiro
사도 개로 미기 장갈래 전룩 릭 장가데 망거
ro
제가 망아도 아주 메릭 장가잖아 아주 싫어 뉴 그래서 할려 뉴 이 나네다 숨바들라 아주 단단 밀루 좀 버치에서 제제 밀루 디 유니디 장가잡 투 장가잡네 자마도 제가 요 장가잡도 뉴시라 해서 아주 주요 말해서
이게 주요 말해
걔는 주요
keep in mind that there are sentient beings that are visible to us and those that are not visible to us. There are many more that are not visible to us. Now, when we see that there are many human beings, we see that there are many. We think that there are many. But really, compared to the number of other beings, they are exceedingly few. There are exceedingly few human beings. A very, very small percentage of living beings are human beings. And non-human beings, non-human species that go extinct, for everyone, there are others that are not. And there are many more species that are not human beings. Furthermore, among human beings, or rather of all human beings, it cannot be said that they all have this precious rebirth. You might say at most there is 10% of human beings that actually have the precious human rebirth.
이제 밀레 샘제 망아 요버도 제시 된소 만줄에 치리장에서 망하고 그랬어. 근데 미치기 대세 와라. 샘제 간데 유메 장가자다 건데 유메도 치리도 따지세는 망한 얘기로 와. 만주고 다 들어가서 기제 삼다가 고도 미생김 따지 망아 통거로 와서다 고도 세르시야 요래서
Now, of course, there are many more living beings, organisms, than there are human beings. Scientists know very well, for any person beneath them, the multitudes of other organisms in the earth are evident to scientists using technology that allows them to see this. We know of it, but to a scientist with the technology for verifying this, they know it certainly.
미지가 보관하는 무카도 유메세 세르고서 나부도 와서
No, for instance, all of the microorganisms in one's guts or whatnot.
와 수바도 가리다 거기
근데 소문대로 아니 수자들이 아니 치워들어 수자들 내 치워 지켜버려. 다 디기시기 덴데 소문으로 아니 서선디 killasha 아니 예초라 젬바샤 연초라 아니 그래서 스테이션샤 샤크의 남샤티 샤크의 남샤티 치나 야면나니 예초다 연초 고고바디
내 예조 거 와도 단다 셈을 차례 치고 거 말했어 셈을 아주 또 요즘 텐트로 와 내가 지도 셈디 파샤 셈디로 로봇이 그냥 아주 내가 지기나 내가 지 미조 지고 요원이들 여러 봐 옛날시 또 셈직제 아니 셈디냠도 내가 레니 여봐 소화 요한 지도라 대시 잡아랬어 야들 빼졌는데 믹스 카세오들에게 요 말해서
I put it this way, with the mind in the middle and recollection on the right and vigilance on the left, so that it may be made sensible to you in meditation that you would have a mind and its assistance, as it were, accentuating the mind in the middle, just as you might have a person with their friends. You have the mind and then these mental factors that accentuate and support, so that you might get a feeling and an impression of it. I put it this way: it isn't that it's presented in this way in any text.
어사이 심중신 받을 때나시 내가 방글래 심중 샘바가 가르쳐 심중 나쁜 아직 건 내가 치다면다 여러 대단 그 샘을 내가 가르쳐도 심중을 냠도 그 내가 제가 연걸 대단 삼로 땅도 삼 샘을 심중을 내가 치고 삼로 땅 거야 망고 열어서
And there are many in the 51 mental factors. There are all of the other mental factors, the other derivative cognitive states of intention, and the rest. Each of these mental factors has its function. Each of these mental factors accentuates the primary mind in its given way. And the various functions of the various mental factors are part of that presentation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, are there any other questions? And if there are not, then we can recite our closing prayers.
얘는 만들면 되고 손다 잔주 셈기 최년시 제가 인자 표현 충분시다 요르스 제가 표현 얘기디 양 루샤샤나 산이나이도 콘도 좀더 얘기가 맞으면 진도는 뭐가 지고래 뭐야 지도라는 것도 더 되게 잔주 셈 년보다 10배 표현이 되게 아니 수수스 아무 야고 땅게 있나니 semje 탐지 대화 토배 유럽도 근데 이바 삼는 땅에는 아주 더블링 되다가 추로 땅에 매기 강에 중화 수수 강에 여러 아니 나로 마우투 그 강에 여도 시워치도 이 근데 삼는 칠리 총알 땅에는 수수기 삼대 두가치도 이삼 가리켜는 거는 되는 되기래 너는 야고래 잡나 너는 영화 채나 아니 야와도 총을 두고 말이 쳐도 그래 So now we'll recite our closing prayers.
we have attended to the mind of enlightenment, explicated it, listened to an explanation of it. And as this has been the subject, this activity has been very constructive as a virtuous and constructive activity to ensure that it does not dissipate, that it is preserved, it isn't destroyed by a fit of anger, for instance. We dedicate it. And as we dedicate it, we may do so in any of three ways. If we think with the greatest scope to encompass all sentient beings, that the virtuous constructive activity be for the contentment and welfare of all sentient beings, that is the intention of greatest scope or dedication of greatest scope. Of lesser scope is nevertheless the constructive dedication to the beings in this world which face the myriad catastrophes of flooding and famine and fire and violent conflict, that there may be an ease and reduction in all of these pains and strife in this world. This is the lesser scope for the dedication. And of least scope would be to dedicate the virtue of this constructive activity to realizing one's personal aims and wishes. But dedicating in any of these ways is acceptable.
Bene rendo bele soni kadar yamba kanshi sabo lome mare ke don gawai nande gyave hombo da juje tema sange tera kundu yang jambe yangi sewe jesu Kembe rimba kunsan damji jo, Nyene rube gena nije jo, Rangi chiche tobe langi ne, Shura sewe chanwe taki yi, Drove yiki mumba seje ne, Kyawe temba yukne zengyure chi, Temba reje choge machaba, Kya nyamba gyurwe chode ne, Ninje jembo yira jeba yi, Pede teje sawara jeba cho, Seje yave menjun tele ne, Ledru chanju lamje rimbe na, Tadu nangye yila pede je, Yave zeba rindu yongyur je, Langsan rube tujen ruje jing, Yeken seje medam mebe, Sera kundu gyagwe nama yi, Namda lamda jawa magyure je, Kanze tebo jola juju su, Sujin rola zumba deyi se, Tude namje tabu roje je, For my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom I am blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, my leadership. May I find the best of the paths and the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means, drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted the bounty of peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the virtuous Buddhas in their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be taken enemy of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the Mighty One.
and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dagi Jinye Sabe Gewa Di Tendan Rowa Tula Gambe Kebara Jizun Lozan Rabari Tembe Nimbo Rindu Seje Sho Tare Rawe Korwe Shinkande Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwe Chere Sewan Tenzin Yasu Yi Shabe Sidi Margu Tingirche Jambe Bawo Chida Jimba Dan Kundu Sambo Deyan Deshende Deda Kunji Jesu Dalu Gewa Deda Tamje Rabu Yuzo Shebe Gewa Tamje Je Hoa Kanga Shodu Hawa De Daide Gewe Zawa De Guya Sambo Chije Radu Hoa De Janju Sejo Rinpoche Maje Bana Tigirje Yewa Nyamba Meba Wande Wandum Bewa Shlo.
I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful, generous, intent, and counsel, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantavatras realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow the perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious thus gone once up to 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Boddhisattva deed. May I submit a supreme jewel Boddhisattva that has not arisen, arise, and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Thank you, everybody. Well done.
Yeah. How about you?
Because you.
Yeah.
Same to number.